Before we get started, make sure to turn on post notification and subscribe to the channel. 10 WWE superstars who are bound for the indies. Number 10. Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan recently signed off on a WWE contract, but the length of that deal is not known, and there has been plenty of speculation before he signed that it was only a short-term deal, possibly taking him to WrestleMania. Before Bryan was officially cleared to return in WWE, he made it very clear that he was more than willing to go back to the independent scene and wrestle there, if that's what he had to do. So it is obvious something he has thought about. Bryan is also known for discussing the indies frequently, whether that be on social media or in interviews, and he has teased joining Bullet Club in the past. While it may not be anytime soon, before he calls it a day, Bryan is likely to have another spell on the indies to give back to where he came from. Number 9. Dolph Ziggler. Whenever a list like this appears, Dolph Ziggler's name will pop up. And a lot of that is likely down to the fact that everyone wants to see someone of Ziggler's in-ring talent work against amazing wrestlers across the world in places like New Japan. In reality, every time Ziggler's contract status has come up, the show-off has always decided to stick with WWE, no matter how great or poorly he has been booked prior to having to make that decision. But that doesn't mean you can fully rule it out. Ziggler is pushing further and further into the comedy world, and if he ever wants to fully invest in that, a lighter schedule where he can pick and choose his own dates might be the perfect thing to back that up. Number 8. Asuka. How Asuka has gone from the longest undefeated wrestler in WWE history all the way to barely being featured, which is one of the strangest booking decisions in recent history by the company. When you consider how much of her star power has dwindled from WrestleMania, it is easy to imagine that Asuka isn't thrilled about her spot, which has been rumored when she wasn't on TV for several weeks recently. With the Japanese scene only growing, especially for women's wrestling, it wouldn't be a major surprise to see Asuka eventually return home, perhaps when her current contract comes to an end. Number 7. Baron Corbin. The lone wolf might be in a featured spot right now, but when he eventually falls out of his current role as the acting general manager and goes back to simply just being a wrestler, this is where the problem could be for him. Corbin isn't one of the most talented in-ring workers, hence why he was never given major opportunities prior to this. In fact, he was actually being booked as a loser, dropping the Money in the Bank and going from pointless feud to pointless feud. WWE's need to simply have big guys who lack any real talent are long gone. With amazing athletes like Keith Lee in developmental, the places on the roster are tougher to stay hold of for the likes of Corbin. Number 6. Bobby Roode. Things simply haven't gone to plan for Bobby Roode on the main roster, despite the fact he had an incredible spell during his time in NXT, going down as one of the greatest NXT champions in history. He has been booked terribly since making the move, and despite a very uneventful run as United States champion, there has been very little to discuss when it comes to his time on either Raw or SmackDown. With Roode coming towards the end of his career, one more run back on the independents, allowing him to work in front of different audiences, maybe in his future, possibly reuniting Beer Money with James Storm, now also an independent star. Number 5. Rusev. Rusev is a very popular wrestler within WWE, but for whatever reason, management doesn't seem to see him as a main event star. Even though he has all the attributes to be exactly that, with the look, tons of charisma, and believable in-ring work, Rusev could likely have a very lengthy run within WWE's mid-card, possibly having another run as United States champion. But should he want to become a main event superstar, he might just need to have a spell on the independent scene. With companies such as Ring of Honor or the NWA growing more and more, there's a place for top wrestlers like him to go and prove himself, and with Lana by his side, they will likely find getting bookings very easy. Number 4. Dana Brooke. WWE has an incredibly talented women's roster that is only growing in depth by the year as the company decides to bring more names from NXT or outside of WWE, and because of that, certain talent is being lost in the shuffle. This is for the first time in history, really, as previously, WWE wouldn't have many women, meaning there was time for everyone to have a spot, a luxury that no longer exists, and one person who may suffer because of that is Dana Brooke. Brooke is certainly the greenest of the current WWE roster and was brought up a little too soon, meaning she lost a lot of development. Should WWE need to cut talent, Brooke is likely high up on that list to go, meaning if she wants a long career, the indies will become very important. Number 3. Sasha Banks. At one point, Sasha Banks was considered to be one of the very best in the entire company, with her amazing run as NXT Women's Champion, or even her fantastic feud with Charlotte Flair on Monday Night Raw. However, for some reason or another, the boss has simply slipped down the card when it comes to top stars, with Banks now simply filling smaller roles instead of being in a major future feud, which is a huge shame and a waste of talent. While WWE may have always been her dream, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the only place she will wrestle, with the women's team growing everywhere, not just in WWE, with Banks often posting rather cryptic tweets. It could be a shock move down the line for her. Number 2. Zack Ryder. It seems unavoidable that Zack Ryder will eventually end up on the independent scene and possibly live up to all the potential that people knew he had back during his internet champion days. Ryder has had huge moments in his career where he has been one of the most popular wrestlers in the entire company, yet WWE has failed to invest in him every single time. However, you can't blame Ryder, who has more than paid his dues and is now in the best shape of his career. Despite getting into incredible shape, he's now only being used on main event, and after seeing the success of one of his closest friends in Cody Rhodes after he jumped ship, he could possibly make the same decision and back himself. Number 1. Cesaro. While there's no doubt Cesaro has had a brilliant WWE career and is currently enjoying a fantastic run alongside Sheamus as the Bar, it is also true that he hasn't quite reached his full potential, with a lot of that being down to WWE's booking. Inside the ring, the Swiss Superman is one of the best wrestlers on the planet and could put on a main event level match with anyone in the company. While he was held back initially due to not being as confident on the microphone, he has overcome that due to his work with the charismatic Sheamus. Whenever the time comes for the Bar to split up, should Cesaro find himself being treated how he was prior to teaming with the Celtic Warrior, then WWE might find itself losing one of the very best wrestlers in the world back to the indies where he made his name.